Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're exploring something, well, truly remarkable. It's the scientifically validated power of nature to transform our brains and bodies.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you looking to understand the real impact, the actual impact of the natural world on your well-being, or
Yeah.
maybe you're just fascinated by how our environment shapes us, this is definitely for you. We've really dug into the research to uncover why nature isn't just like a nice backdrop. It's an active ingredient in our health and happiness.
Exactly. So, our goal in this deep dive, we want to reveal the evidence based reasons behind nature's positive influence and, crucially, give you practical ways to bring more of it into your daily life. We'll be drawing quite a bit from Florence Williams' book, The Nature Fix. It's subtitled Why Nature Makes Us Happier, Healthier, and More Creative.
Mm,
And also from a really compelling summary of its research we found from Fermi Manga University on YouTube. Okay, let's unpack this.
right. Let's start with something universal. Stress. Who doesn't feel it? Turns out that natural environments actively counteract stress. There was a big study in 2010 led by an economist, George Macaron. They tracked thousands of people, their locations, their happiness levels, and found significantly higher happiness reported in green outdoor spaces, especially coastal areas, actually,
Yeah.
compared to, being in urban settings or at work or even hospitals.
That's fascinating. You sort of feel calmer by the ocean, but seeing it in the data?
Yeah. And Professor Yoshifumi Miyazaki at Chiba University, he looked at the actual physical changes, didn't he?
He did, yeah. His research showed that people just walking leisurely in forests had a 13.8% reduction in cortisol. That's the main stress hormone compared to walking in the city.
13.8%.
So it's not just a feeling of being relaxed, it's a measurable biological shift.
Wow. So just being around trees triggers that calming response hormonally?
And that wasn't the only physical benefit they found, was it?
No, not at all. They also saw a 4% drop in sympathetic nervous system activity. That's your fight or flight system. So it indicates a shift towards calm, towards safety.
Oh.
Plus, a nearly 2% decrease in blood pressure and a 4% decrease in heart rate for the forest walkers.
Right.
And this reduction in stress physiology, it directly impacts brain function. Helps you think clearer, maybe be more creative.
That makes perfect sense. A stressed out brain just doesn't work as well, does it?
Yeah.
So nature helps us unwind, which then sharpens our minds, but it goes beyond stress and brain function, right? What about our immune systems?
Ah, yes. This is where it gets really compelling, I think. A 2008 study by Dr. Licking looked at how nature affects our natural killer cells, NK cells. These are vital immune cells. They target cancer cells, viruses, really important stuff.
Okay.
So they took middle-aged male office workers, sent them on 2 to 3 hour hikes in a forest for 3 days. The result, a remarkable 40% increase in their NK cell activity.
40% just from hiking. That's huge.
It really is a massive boost to the immune system.
And what about the control group, the ones walking in the city?
No significant change in their NK cell levels. Nothing.
Wow.
So that contrast, it strongly suggests a direct link, doesn't it, between being in nature and strengthening our body's defenses. It implies, that regular time in nature could really help build resilience against getting sick.
That's a powerful reason to maybe swap a city walk for a park or a forest trail sometimes. Now, shifting gears a bit, I was genuinely surprised by the connection our sources made between nature and crime rates.
Yeah, that's the research by Frances Couteau at the University of Michigan. It's fascinating stuff. She looked at crime stats in Chicago public housing developments, comparing places with lots of green space versus hardly any. And get this, a 42% lower overall crime rate in areas with some greenery compared to those with basically none.
42% lower. That's a massive difference. And it wasn't just overall crime, was it? Specific types were affected differently.
Exactly. The drops were even bigger for certain crimes. Theft was down 48%. And violent crime, an incredible 56% reduction in areas where residents actually had views of, abundant nature from their windows.
Wait, just seeing trees and plants from your window can make a neighborhood significantly safer. It almost sounds too simple. What's the thinking behind that?
Well, the researchers hypothesized that green spaces create a sense of calm, peace of mind. And they encourage people to actually spend more time outside.
Okay.
Which means neighbors get to know each other better. There's more eyes on the street, as they say. That familiarity and mutual awareness can act as a natural deterrent to crime.
Huh. So putting nature in cities isn't just about making things look nice.
Not at all. It
Yeah.
seems to be fundamental for community well-being, for safety.
It really makes you think about urban planning differently, doesn't it?
It does. Maybe access to nature isn't just a personal perk, but like essential social infrastructure.
A really thought-provoking angle. Okay, so nature helps with stress, boosts immunity, might even make communities safer. But what is it about nature that does all this? Is it just looking at green things?
Well, it seems to be a whole sensory package deal. The combination of smells, sounds, sights, they all work together. There's good science backing up the calming effects of, say, birdsong or the sound of flowing water.
Right, you hear those on relaxation apps all the time.
Exactly, because they work. And then there are the smells, that earthy smell of soil, wood scents, the smell after rain. They have documented relaxing properties too.
Okay. Sights, sounds, smells.
And then there's this fascinating concept, fractals. Have you come across that?
Fractals, remind me.
They're complex patterns where the smaller parts sort of resemble the whole thing. They repeat at different scales. Think of a tree's branches or a fern leaf or a snowflake or even a coastline on a map.
Ah, okay, I see. Like repeating patterns within patterns?
Precisely. Nature is absolutely full of them.
And what's their link to us feeling good?
Studies show that just viewing these fractal patterns tends to induce relaxation in people. Our brains seem that just like them. There's an inherent affinity.
Huh.
Plus, you have to remember our evolutionary history, right? For almost all of human existence, we lived immersed in nature. So it makes sense that we're still wired to respond positively to those environments.
It's like our modern, often quite sterile environments are missing something fundamental.
Yeah, maybe these natural stimuli are like environmental vitamins that we're often deficient in without realizing it.
That's a really powerful way to put it. Our bodies and minds still crave those natural patterns. So given all these benefits, the big question is, how do we actually get more nature into our busy, often urban lives?
Right. And the research offers some very practical strategies. One key finding comes from Lisa Turbin's work, pointing to what some call the 5-hour rule. Basically, spending at least 5 hours a month in nature seems to be a threshold for reducing stress, boosting mood, energy, creativity.
5 hours a month. Okay, that actually sounds doable. How might someone break that down?
Exactly. It doesn't have to be all at once. It could be, say, a couple of 45-minute walks in a park each week. Or maybe you prefer a longer hike or camping trip once a month. The point is that regular cumulative exposure adds up. Even shorter bursts seem to matter.
That makes it feel much less daunting. What else? Any other advice?
Definitely prioritize greener spaces when you can. Another study by Lisa Turbin found that even just 15 minutes of sitting quietly in a more natural setting, like a well-kept park or some woods, led to a greater feeling of recovery from stress compared to just sitting in a built-up urban area.
15 minutes.
Yeah. So if you have a choice between a concrete plaza and a leafy park for your lunch break, choose the park. Even within cities, seek out those nature-rich pockets. Like Okatama near Tokyo was mentioned as an example of a more immersive nearby place if you can get there.
Okay, seek out the green. Makes sense. Is there a more structured way to think about this?
Well, Timothy Beatley proposed something called the Nature Pyramid. It's a helpful framework. It suggests different frequencies of nature exposure for health benefits, like daily doses, maybe some gardening or a walk in a local park.
Daily? Okay.
Then weekly visits to maybe larger green spaces, monthly activities like proper hiking or forest bathing, and then maybe annually aiming for an awe experience.
An awe experience. Tell me more about that. Sounds grand.
It is. It refers to encountering really vast, beautiful natural phenomena. Things like stunning sunsets, huge mountain ranges, looking up at an incredibly starry sky. Things that make you feel small in a good way.
Ah, I know that feeling.
Yeah. And research suggests these experiences can increase humility, compassion, broaden your perspective, make you feel more generous, more curious even.
Wow, that's quite a list of benefits just from witnessing something beautiful. It really can be humbling and inspiring. Okay, but what if you live somewhere with very little access to outdoor nature? Are you just out of luck?
No, thankfully there are ways to bring some nature indoors. Using essential oils from trees, like hinoki, that's a type of Japanese cypress in your bedroom, for example. One study actually showed a 20% increase in those NK immune cells we talked about.
Really?
And less fatigue just from sleeping in a hinoki-scented room for 3 nights.
That's incredible, just the smell.
It seems so. Also, simply having images of natural landscapes around. Or keeping houseplants. These can also promote relaxation, give you that visual connection.
Right.
It's maybe not as powerful as being in nature, but these indoor strategies definitely still offer benefits.
These are all super practical tips. It feels empowering, that small changes can actually help. Now, zooming out again, the sources also connected nature to the well-being of whole countries.
Yes, that was an insightful point. Take Finland, often ranked one of the happiest countries, right?
Right at the top, usually.
Well, it has huge forest cover, about 74% of the country, 40 national parks. And a huge chunk of the population, around 70%, regularly hikes or walks in nature for fun, often like 2, 3 times a week.
That's a really deep cultural connection to the outdoors.
It is. Now, obviously, Finland's happiness is due to many things, social welfare, work-life balance, etc.
Sure, it's complex.
But it seems very likely that their abundant, accessible nature plays a significant role.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it, about countries with less green space or where it's harder for people to access it regularly.
Absolutely. It underlines how investing in nature, making it accessible, could contribute to national well-being. The material briefly contrasted this with Japan. Beautiful nature, yes, but maybe harder for urban dwellers to integrate it into daily life.
So it's not just having nature, but how easy it is for people to actually experience it routinely.
Well, this has been incredibly enlightening. Let's try and sum up the key takeaways.
Okay. In essence, the science is clear. Nature has a profound impact. It lowers stress, improves cognitive function, boosts our immune system, and can even contribute to safer communities. And these benefits seem to come from that whole sensory experience, the sights, sounds, smells working together. Right. And we talked about practical ways to get more nature. Things like the 5-hour rule, consciously choosing greener spots, using the nature pyramid idea, seeking out those awe experiences, and even bringing nature indoors with scents or plants.
Which leads us to a final thought, really, for you listening. Could it be that our growing disconnect from the natural world is actually contributing to modern problems like chronic stress or certain illnesses? And could consciously making time for nature be a powerful, maybe overlooked way to restore our health and vitality?
It's definitely something worth thinking about, isn't it? Take a moment to consider your own connection with nature. Perhaps this deep dive has given you some ideas for weaving a little more green into your routine. Thank you for joining us on the Deep Dive.